And there's this misconception that a woman can raise a child. A woman can't raise a child. A woman can just maintain a child. Raising a child takes a coalition of masculine energy and feminine energy. You need mother and father in that household.
Like 50-50 custody is a sensitive topic for a lot of people, and I get that.
50-50 custody does not mean exactly what it sounds like, and let me break that down for you.
All right, let's speed run 5 of the most common arguments I hear against equal shared parenting.
If you have 50-50 custody of your child and you think that you deserve child support, you are part of the problem. Just because somebody else makes more money than you does not mean that they should pay you child support so that the lifestyle in your home is increased.
The law that shocked America is spreading, and the states joining it are changing everything. Something big is happening again, something most people never thought that they would see. The cash-out divorce system is collapsing, and this time, it's not just Kentucky. Florida broke the cash-out system. Arkansas broke it. West Virginia broke it. Missouri strengthened their standards too.
There's never been a better time to be a dad in the state of Florida if you're involved in a legal dispute with the mom. As most people know, Florida changed the laws regarding time sharing for dads, and now there's a presumption in favor of equal time sharing.
And the people who built their lives around the old system are panicking. The lawyers, the child support machines, the industries that made billions keeping parents apart. They can feel it. The shift is real and it's spreading fast. For the first time in years, men are finally getting what was always theirs: fairness, equal parenting, real times with their kids, a system that finally stopped treating fathers like a wallet. And here's a part no one really talks about. When states moved to 50-50 parenting, something changed instantly. The orders dropped, some reduced, some eliminated. And that is why the old cash-out model is falling apart. This movement started in one state, and now it's crossing the map. And the people who depended on the old system know they can't stop what's coming next.
So a lot of times when there's a man absent from the household, that little black boy wasn't raised to be a man. He was maintained until he turned of male age.
Right.
And then he gets kicked out. And then now he's not thinking with his intelligence. He's thinking with his emotions. Right. And then he's letting his emotions supersede his intelligence.
When Kentucky released their numbers, something shifted across the entire country. Not just in family courts, not just in politics, in everyday conversations, in the way men looked at the system, in a way lawyers realized the old model was in trouble. Kentucky released real data, and the results were too big to ignore. Divorce filings went down, custody battles went down, child support orders dropped, families fought less, parents communicated more, kids finally spent real time with both parents. For the first time in years, a state proved something that fathers already knew. When both parents are equal, you remove the incentive to turn parenting into a battle. And when the incentive disappears, the conflicts disappears as well. That is why the rest of the country paid attention. Kentucky showed what happens when you stop treating one parent like the home and the other like the paycheck. And that is why most states are moved. Florida, Arkansas, West Virginia, Missouri. They all saw the same pattern. Kids getting stability, parents working together, conflicts dropping, and support orders reduced or eliminated because both parents were finally equal. This is not a small experiment. This is a national shift, a correction. The beginning of the end of the system that treated fatherhood like a financial obligation instead of a relationship. And whether people like it or not, the change is spreading. More states are joining the fight because they can see what happens when you finally give men the one thing they were denied for years: equality as parents. More states are joining the fight because they can see what happens when you give men the one thing they were denied for years: equality as parents. More states are moving towards equal parenting because they saw what happens when you level the playing field. You remove the reward from weaponizing the kid, you remove the prize for destroying the other parent, and you remove the financial motivation to turn a breakup into a war. For years, the old system created imbalance. One parent took most of the time, most of the responsibility, and the other carried most of the cost. Whenever you create that kind of imbalance, you create resentment and conflict. But with 50-50 parenting, everything changes. Equal time, equal structure, equal responsibilities. And when both parents are equal, the child support machine has nothing left to pull from.
But motherhood is it's totally different from fatherhood. And I want to do a whole podcast on this because I strongly believe in both parents are equally important. I do not think the mother or the father, I think like it's so much equally of importance to have that the child has both in their lives. But that is a very long conversation to be had. But I think just y'all working together
for sure,
and never letting the kids, I say never, it happens, but like try not to let the kids see y'all torn on subjects.
Attorneys in Arkansas said it after Act 604. Equal time means neither parent should be paying child support. West Virginia and Missouri echoed it too. Equal time means no primary custodian, which means no traditional support order. And Kentucky proved it. Once the incentive disappeared, the conflict disappeared. Support orders dropped. Custody fights dropped. Even divorce filings dropped because there was nothing left to fight over. So, when Florida joined the movement, it sent a message. Men were never trying to abandon their kids. They always wanted to raise them. They always wanted to be present. They wanted a system that stopped treating them like the problem. And equal parenting does not take anything from good mothers. It protects children from the fallout of broken homes. It gives kids both sides of their identity, and it brings fairness back to a system that forgot what fairness looked like. The shift is spreading fast. Families stuck in conflict are winning. Kids trapped in tug-of-war situations are winning. And the men who spent years fighting for basic time with their children are finally breathing again. The old cash-out model is dying. The equal parenting model is rising. And the system that once treated fathers like the backup parent is now being forced to change. Whenever a system changes, the people who benefited from the old one react first. And this movement is no different. For years, the cash-out model gave one parent power by taking time from the other. Conflict paid, imbalance paid. So when states removed that imbalance, the pushback came fast. Not from families, not from children, and not from most mothers. The resistance came from careers, industries built around unnecessary conflict.
So my advice, if you're a dad in the state of Florida and you are not getting the amount of time sharing that you think is in your child's best interest, don't wait. You don't want to establish a pattern of not being in your child's life 50% of the time.
Some lawyers warned that equal parenting would hurt their business. Some groups claimed that the law was dangerous, even when the data showed the opposite. Some commentators insisted that shared custody would harm kids. Yet, the numbers showed children became stable when both parents were involved. And there were people who were simply afraid. They had only seen one model their whole lives, so they assumed it was the only way to protect kids. But once equal parenting arrived, everything became clear. This was never about taking power from mothers. It was about giving fathers back what they never should have lost in the first place: time, access, presence. And when one parent can no longer rely on the system for guaranteed advantage, everything changes. That is when you saw the online reactions: fear, confusion, disbelief. But the truth is simple. Equal parenting does not create chaos. It removes it. It stabilizes families. It protects children. And that is why the movement keeps growing.
Let me ask you, are kids entitled to the best parent, or are they entitled to their parent? If they're entitled to their parent, it doesn't matter which one of you was better during the marriage. If they're entitled to the best parent, maybe I'm better than both of y'all. Let me throw my name in the hat, right? Kids aren't entitled to the best parent. They're entitled to their parent.
No one expected how much these laws would change men themselves. When a father knows he will not be pushed out of his child's life, everything shifts his confidence. his patience, his stress, his entire approach to family. For years, men walked into families' court defeated. They expected the worst. They believed that they were about to lose their children, their home, and their future. But with equal parenting, fathers walk in knowing that they have a real chance, knowing that the law is not stacked against them, knowing that they're seen as a parent, not a paycheck. That alone shows how they show up. You can see it in their voices online now. Men who once felt powerless feel hopeful. Men who once felt disconnected feel included. Men who once felt like outsiders in their own children's life feel like fathers again. When a man knows he will not be erased, he becomes better, more present, more grounded, more willing to build instead of fighting. Equal parenting does not turn men into threat. It turns them into partners. It gives kids structure from both sides, love from both sides, identity from both sides. And when both parents know the law will treat them fairly, the tension drops, the resentment drops, the fear drops. Couples begin negotiating instead of attacking, cooperating instead of competing, planning instead of panicking, because the law removed the weapon that once caused so much damage. This is why the movement is spreading. States are seeing healthier relationships. Courts are seeing fewer battles. Kids are doing better with two parents instead of one. Families are finding peace. The old system never offered that. When a few states adopted equal parenting, the rest of the country started paying attention. Not because they wanted a trend, but because they saw undeniable results. When you stop turning parents into enemies, the entire system becomes calmer. Judges noticed it. Lawmakers noticed it. Community groups noticed it. Even people who never cared about family court asked why the results were so strong. They saw fewer custody battles, fewer families stuck in court for years, fewer situations where one parent tried to take full control, and more children growing up with stability. That is why Florida moved. That is why Arkansas passed Act 604. That is why West Virginia and Missouri strengthened their models. Not to be bold, but to be right. These states saw the truth. The cash-out system was not sustainable. The conflict model was not sustainable. And the belief that one parent must lose for the other one to win was hurting families. Now, more states are talking behind closed doors. They see support orders dropping when parents are equal, courts calming down, families healing. And they are asking a question that people once avoided. If equal parenting works this well, why aren't we doing it? Equal parenting does not destroy families. It protects them. It removes the imbalance that causes so much pain. It forces the system to treat both parents with respect. Men everywhere are celebrating, not because they want to take something from women, no, but because fairness is finally appearing again. This movement is not a trend. It is a return to stability. And as more states pay attention and more fathers speak about the peace that they finally feel, the pressure to expand this movement will grow. And every time one state chooses fairness, another asks why they haven't done the same. Every time a father is given equal time, another demands it too. This is only the beginning.
Guys, it's not co-parenting if both the people that made the children are not both equally responsible for everything that has to do with the children, as in time with the children, things the children need financially, all of that. It is not co-parenting if you get your children every other weekend. It is not co-parenting if you pay child support that isn't even half of the cost of the children and everything they need, daycare, food, all of that. That is not called co-parenting. That is one person being the primary parent and really just keeping the other parent in the loop. Like, let's call it what it is.
Everything happening right now says something deeper about our culture. Equal parenting did not become a movement because men wanted power. It became a movement because men were tired of losing their place in their own families. For years, fathers were treated as optional, someone who could be pushed out of a child's life without anyone asking what that loss did. Now that states are seeing fewer divorces, fewer court battles, and fewer financial incentives to tear families apart, they are finally seeing something that men carried quietly. Fathers matter just as much. This movement is about balance. A system that expected one parent to carry everything while the other carried the consequences was never sustainable. Men never asked for control. They asked for time with their children. That is what these laws give them. Not power, not advantage, just presence. And that is why the reaction online feels so emotional. A system that once broke men is finally getting something back. Dignity, recognition, respect. This is about identity. It is about healing. It is about children growing up with both sides of who they are. A child never loses when both parents are present. A child wins every single time. When you look at the bigger picture, something becomes clear. This movement is not just about laws. It is about the kind of world we want our children to grow up in. Do we want a world where parents fight just to stay in their children's lives? Where conflict pays more than cooperation? Where a child loses half their identity because the system made it easy to erase a parent? Or do we want a world that treats both parents with dignity? A world where fathers are not erased, where mothers do not carry everything alone, where families can separate without falling apart. Equal parenting equals balance, a chance for children to grow up with both sides present, a chance for parents to co-parent without destroying each other. And that is why the old cash-out system is collapsing. Not because men demanded it, not because women failed, but because the truth finally caught up. You cannot build fairness on imbalance. This movement is a reset, a system that keeps both parents present and keeps children at the center. More states are moving, more families are healing, and more fathers are standing with their children instead of behind court orders that once held them back. So, the final question is simple. If fairness works this well, if children benefit this much, why is the rest of the country still waiting? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice might be the one that pushes another state to join the movement. As you already know, it's been your girl Remi here. I'll see you guys in my next video.